What is going on, everybody? Welcome to episode number 21 of Bettin N Boozin here on the HHH Racing Podcast. I'm your host, Kyle Roscoe, and what an absolutely amazing weekend it was for last weekend for Derby Day. Hopefully, you all cashed. I personally, if you watched yesterday's show, would know that I did not cash this weekend. But again, congratulations to you if you did. It was definitely tough. I had I think I counted them. I think I had 9 seconds or shows or places or shows when I needed them for doubles or anything like that. It was just one of those days where you really would rather just be dead last rather than losing by a neck. It seems every race, i.e. King Ottoman, Spenderella, you can name a bunch of them, but yeah, just a brutal weekend for me. But again, if you cash, you probably cash for something pretty big. So congratulations to you again if you did. Guys, you all know the drill right now, but I'm going to go through it right now. As you see scrolling across the bottom of the screen, my email is down there, Bettin N Boozin, just like the title, at gmail.com. As you can see, scrolling past, it's just scrolling past here. Tomorrow, Howard, Pete, and Paul will be on to discuss Peter Pan Day at Belmont, and a big day that they always traditionally have the weekend after the Derby. It has the Peter Pan Stakes, the Man of War, and another graded stake. I believe it's the Run Happy Stakes, if I remember correctly. So, um, if you are so inclined, please do tune into that, as that is definitely the best racing you are going to get this weekend. Um, but while you're down there, please hit subscribe. It helps us out a lot, and hit the like button as well, as that shoots out this podcast to all the people on horse racing YouTube that YouTube feels would want to watch it. So if you could, it really helps us out. So we really appreciate it. For our audio listeners, please go to Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and Anchors. Those are our main three that we use to post every single episode, whether it's Bettin N Boozin or the flagship show on the HHH Racing Podcast. Everything gets posted to Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and Anchor. So if you're more of an audio listener, please tune into that. As for the power picks, little rough for Derby Day, as we touched on, but I mean, our ROI is still above $2.40, which is almost 80 cents above the national average ROI. So, and it's only $4 a weekend. It'll charge $16 a month, as the Patreon charges by the month. But for our extremely profitable and extremely cheap power picks, please go to patreon.com/HHH Racing Podcast. And thank you to our sponsor, who not only sponsoring this show, but every single show of Bettin N Boozin, BetUS. It's a sports betting platform that me and my co-host both use. They offer up to 200 live games a day and 400 different props. When you are depositing money, please use code RACING3H. And if you deposit $100 or more, you will get a free 125% back. So again, thank you to BetUS, not only sponsoring this episode, but every episode of Bettin N Boozin. If you guys want to learn anything more about us or anything about the power picks, as we have past editions on there, please go to hhhracingpodcast.com. Guys, I'm not gonna drone on too much here, so we're gonna get right into the picks. This Gulfstream Pick5 is it's pretty ridiculous, honestly. There's two really good stakes races, which actually I plan not me, but our team planned on having a horse. One of our brand new 2-year-olds, Crownsway Racing, was planning on putting one of them in the race, but unfortunately Shards came down with a fever and he's not able to be entered, as we took him out of training. But it's still two really good races. Could be the Wesley Ward show, it could not be. But without further ado, guys, like I said, we're going to get right into it. We're going to touch on a little bit about the Derby. We're not going to go over it. If you want to go through it in depth and hear all the stories and all the greatness that Paul and Howard went through at the Derby, please tune into yesterday's show for all that coverage. But here we're going to touch on a little bit, as one of our guys touted a winner, or he didn't give him out on top, but he definitely touted that he liked him to win. And then we'll touch on the Oaks a little bit, and then we'll go right into this Gulfstream card. So without further ado, from New Jersey, I have Patrick Kuenzel, and the man himself from Ohio State University, but now residing for a week in Florida, Charlie Freeman. Guys, what's going on?
Nothing much. How we doing?
Just vibing. Charlie, you going to Gulfstream at all while you're down there? I know you were talking about it, but
yeah, no, I'm going down tomorrow. I'm going down Saturday. We'll see about Friday and or Sunday. Hopefully, I'm going to be at Wesley's box, so I'm hoping, as you mentioned, we'll cover later. I'm hoping that maybe I can go in the winner's circle and see some wins for him. Might have a little bias in the picks, but hey, I mean, Wesley with sprint races and young horses. To be fair, this
I don't think there's a bias.
Yeah, I was gonna say, yeah, there's always, well, even if there was a bias, you act like it's something brand new today that you've had for Wesley Ward. But we're rocking the Mickey Mouse horse racing shirt we got going on here, guys. But
I got my
no one cares about that.
up 20. Come on.
No, but guys, cheers to anyone out there that's drinking. I see you got a few comments in the chat. I'll go over them. Michael Austin, thanks for joining the show, man. Greatly appreciate it as always. Will Wesley will win a race?
I hope so, man. I mean, hope so.
You're talking to the guy on the bottom of the screen there, but with these young 2-year-old horses, I mean, we saw it at Keeneland how dangerous he could be.
He lost to no balls too.
Yes, he did.
Yeah, Kyle's horse came through everybody.
Yeah. You know what? I knew it was going to be a disaster of a day as soon as that horse won. I'm like, this is going to be.
I knew that well before that. I knew when I lost. I lost Quality Chic in the second race. I lost King Ottoman in the third race, both by like a neck. Then Spenderella and I was getting Goodnight Olive, and I was like, dude, this is the worst thing that could have ever happened to start off this day. But
I got saved at the end, to be honest. It was bad for me too. I was having just what you were having, a bunch of seconds and thirds. I went on I think I actually went on my worst losing streak I've ever had in horse racing. Like my streak hit double digits, and then I won the last 3 in a row with the Derby, and that saved me.
That's good to give out on this show. Thanks, Charlie. Appreciate that. No, I'm just kidding. I'm fucking.
Well, I mean, the Derby was a tough pick. The Derby was a tough pick.
I know. Yeah, it was. And you, like I said,
when I don't know if Patrick knows, but when the Thursday show was going on, when I landed in Phoenix, I joined the show like last minute, and like my little 2 minute that we all got when we got our segment at the end of what we want everyone to know, I told everyone to bet Mage, told everyone to take Mage. I said to ride the horse.
Yeah, and how many people rode it with you?
Probably not too many, to be honest. My friends couldn't believe. I said, as I mentioned, all my casual friends text me who to bet. I told them all to take Mage, but they didn't do it because they said it's too long of odds. They didn't want to just throw the money down the drain.
Yeah, well, it's the Derby. Let that be something to your friends there. But Steven Vanderbroek, thanks so much for joining the show, man. Greatly appreciate it. He says smash the like button, of course. Thanks so much, Steven. Greatly appreciate it. Ralph Conti is here. What's going on, my man? Thanks for joining the show. Jim Pilars is here. Looking forward to the show. And if he was hosting this podcast, the new title would be Bettin N Boozin after Dokes and Derby weekend. Hey, but last weekend we roll it back, man. And we always say on this show, we're always betting and we're always boozing, but we're never losing.
On to the next one.
That's right. Penn State Scott's here, of course. Let's hear some Sixers talk. Trust me, I'm sure Charlie will definitely have your Sixers covered later in the show. That'll be after the Gulfstream card. But guys, without any further ado, we're going to get into it right now because we have a lot to talk about and a lot to go through with these races because and for anyone out there, the morning lines are not out yet. We don't know Jim. We don't know who's the favorite yet. So my picks, just jot them all down as the favorites until proven otherwise. But I mean, look, this is either going to be Wesley Ward day or it's going to be he's going to finish dead last in both races. But I really wanted to pick. Actually, I'll leave it. I'll hold my breath until we get into it, guys. But I'm gonna switch the screen right now as I put up the banners for race number 6. Is the start of the late pick 5. It is one of the 2 featured races on the cards, the Royal Paul Juvenile Stakes. And for those of you that don't know, the Royal Paul Juvenile Stakes is a direct win and you're in for the Royal Ascot meet this summer. I believe it's in mid to early June is when these races go. And like I said, I was already planning my suit, my tips and tails. I was all ready to go, and then asshole gets a fever. But no, I'm just giving him crap out there. But like I said, we were already talking about it just because we had the chance to go to Ascot. And honestly, probably for my bank account, it's probably better that I don't have to book a trip to if he ended up winning it, I don't have to book a trip to England, but would have been damn cool. I'll say that much. This is a full field of 10 for the Royal Paul Juvenile. $100,000 is the purse. They're going 5 furlongs on the turf course. And I would say most likely your morning line favorite will be the number 9 holding the line for Velasquez and Ward. And let this be known, we'll get into it here, but John Velasquez is coming in my opinion, just to ride these horses because he's on both wards in both these stakes races, which I mean, well, you can use Zanagle, you cannot, but that's
I
definitely one
think those
thing
might be his
to
only
be noted.
rides. I think those
He
might be his
has
only.
one in, I believe, the 8th race as
Oh, he
well,
has one
but
more.
I might be
Okay.
wrong on that. But
Who,
we'll
Wesley?
obviously go through them right now. No, Velasquez.
Oh
Johnny
yeah,
V.
he is. Yeah, he's on. Yeah,
But
he's on one for
Weaver, right?
Weaver. Yep.
Yep. See, we remember things out here. My ADD doesn't strike too bad. All right, race 6, guys, right here. Charlie and I are both going with the Ward. Charlie's going with the Ward. Surprise, surprise. But Patrick, my friend, you are the odd man out. And as I bring up the PPs right now, guess who gets to go first? So you're up, my friend. You are going with Blast Furnace, who, like last time, I can show the PPs, just lost to what looked like an absolute monster.
The did I look at this wrong? Is it the 4? Is that not Reaper?
Oh, Reaper. That I said the 6. Yeah, I'm an idiot. The Reaper, correct. My
Do
fault.
it's in as the 4. Good. All
Nope,
right.
it is the 4. That's my fault.
Perfect.
Reaper
No
is for Juan Alvarado and Misael Jaramillo, who won going away last time, but it was on the dirt at 4.5. Patrick, go ahead and talk about your actual pick.
Yeah, exactly. And it was on the dirt, but it was very impressive watching that replay. The way the horse handled the ground and got out of the gate. And I get it was 4.5 furlongs. We're stretching out a bit, a half a furlong on the turf. I just, really liked the way this horse got out and ran some pretty fast figures.
You can see right here. He's the sorry to interrupt you. He's the one right here going out to the lead early.
Yeah, exactly. And Paco Lopez was on him this day. And I mean, Paco really doesn't ask much of this horse. And, you don't expect it to ask much on a 4.5 furlong race. But I just was a big fan. And this horse actually faced the number 5, North Shore Drive, who rallied late to come up. But I just, I just think that I have to applaud this horse for the start that it had. And going against the 9, who was going to get bet a ton, I think Reaper's going to be a decent price, and I think has a great shot of being on top.
Yeah, I mean, you can see the replay right there. We showed most of it, just absolutely going away from this field. Even survives a Paco look back at the top of the stretch, and we all know how hard that is to do for some horses. So, definitely, absolutely an impressive effort going away on the dirt. Obviously, he'll have to take to the turf. I'm going to show the family tree here just to show, kind of give everyone a breeding perspective, and we'll do that a lot for these 2-year-olds. This is the reason why I had this horse in 3rd, just because of the effort. But this horse really doesn't have that much turf breeding. I mean, Donerail Court he's a router on the dirt, obviously very old. Then you have Brethren, who really, again, long on the dirt. Supercharger, long on the dirt, and Distorted Humor was obviously long on the dirt. So there's just not a whole lot of breeding for this horse, but that effort definitely has to pique your interest, especially the way the turf's been playing. Is still not fully recovered from that from the championship meet, so it's definitely still playing, I guess, more to dirt than your Kentucky will be, but definitely interesting for sure. Charlie, you also have this horse in 3rd, but I feel like we kind of touched on it. I also have the horse in 3rd. Charlie, I'm going with you. You're going to talk about holding the line here. Again, as I mentioned, Michael Austin brings up in the chat that he's on one in the 7th, but only has 3 mounts on the day. So 1 for Weaver that I'm sure George just asked him to pick up, and 2 for Ward. He's definitely here for these 2 horses. Charlie, what'd you like about holding the line?
So yeah, that was honestly my thought with this horse. Outside of the fact that the works are decent, Wesley always has these horses ready to go. This is what he's known for more than anything, is these short turf sprints with young horses. Another thing again was the jockey, big deal for me, because as we had now touched on a little bit, he doesn't have many mounts, so clearly he's come here for these races. He's you don't just come here to stop by and be like, oh, I'll do a favor for a friend. You come here to win. Again, this is Wesley's specialty. I trust this horse. I trust this spot. Again, I mean, I thought the 4 looked very impressive, but I usually in these spots like to look towards first-time starters. It's just honestly the 4 was so impressive that I had to have it in my top 3. And it was kind of like not working hard while going away, so I don't think the distance would be a problem. But yeah, for the 9, I didn't have like the access to look too much into the breeding, so I'll let you talk more on that part. But yeah, simply from the connections, the works, the fact that this is Wesley's specialty, I tend to trust his horses in these spots more than just about any other spot for his horses.
Yeah, and the thing is that the one thing that you have to obviously touch on is that this horse you won't get any value realistically on these horses.
Agreed.
You'll have to play this horse in either most likely doubles to get some good prices. And the nice thing about this card is these stakes races that if you like the Wesleys, they're 6 and race 9, to where you'll have some races that with not so heavy favorites in the middle there that you should be able to parlay with some good prices. This is Soldier Called, the sire of the number 9. I mean, grade 2 winning sprinter over in Europe, and a group 1, I think, placed. Yeah, group 1 placed right here in Nunthorpe. So definitely the breeding is there for this turf sprinter. Obviously, you're gonna have to bet on that this horse is ready first time out, but the fact that Wesley Ward in the past 5 years has won 83 times out of 317 with his 2-year-old first time starters, you're never really worried about Wesley in this spot. And I mean, Charlie touched on it all. I mean, worked a bullet last time out. Wesley always has these horses ramped up, especially when he can get basically a quote unquote free trip to Royal Ascot for some of these horses. Even if they run semi well, you can bet your money that they are going to Ascot anyway. But if he can score these in a win and you're in type thing, which is brand new for this year with the Stronach group, it could definitely be a big thing. So I think he's shipping here to win. Patrick, you want to say something real quick?
Yeah, I just wanted to say, because you said something about, you find a spot and, you win this race, you can, you get a trip to Royal Ascot. How many horses in this race do we actually think, are going to go to Royal Ascot? I mean, you look at like Praiseworthy, the 3, like the horse was bought for $1,500. Like, what are the odds?
But the thing is like in a race like this, you're facing horses that,
true.
Realistically,
it's a good way of looking at it. Yeah, I agree.
You don't have the breeding or whatever is still the trainers or something, but all these horses have not raced before. And I mean, that's the reason we were going to throw him in here. It would have been in this spot too. It would have been, he's a colt, but that's why we're like, he's working so well. We bought him at OBS this year. He raced the fastest in the sale. If you want to go watch those, the previews with Kuenzel Racing, they're up on the channel as well. I believe it's episode 11, I believe, of Bettin N Boozin. Anyway, but that's why, because you just don't know. This is if you can win a trip to Royal Ascot, I mean, there's so much money in those races and that at that meet that even if you somehow win this race, I mean, hell, you get to go to Royal Ascot. I mean, it's just,
you're not wrong. Yeah,
that's the way I'm looking at it, at least. But I don't disagree with you that some horses are more meant for this than others. I'm going to talk about my 6 here before I let you guys take it away and we move on. And I apologize, obviously, the form isn't finalized, so we don't have post position numbers, but they are in the order. The number 6 for me is Blast Furnace. And this is the horse that I mentioned earlier that looked like he just lost to a monster at Keeneland. This horse was bet down to 4-1, excuse me. This 10 horse is a Westleaf and Stone Street horse. You can see there's absolutely rockets out of there. The 4 is kind of in between runners, and for a 2-year-old, I mean, and you can see he comes up on the outside. He's going to try and chase after this 10, which as I move forward here, I mean, you can just see there's absolutely no catching,
no competition
this horse, but this horse stays on enough. I mean, he holds on for second in the end. Sorry, I skipped a little past it. You can see the 10 cruises by 6, but you can see the 4 holds on for second. If he can run and even improve off that last race, I think this horse it really has a shot. George Weaver puts the blinkers on, and he's not necessarily known too much for having his horses pumped up and ready to go first time out. He wins probably about 15%, about 12% of his runners second time out. So I'm willing to take the chance in the mid. If you don't think he can beat the Wesley Ward horse, this is a nice horse underneath, which hopefully you'll be able to get a price on this horse. Charlie, you're going with the number 7. I believe it's No Name Mets, correct?
Yes.
All right, but yeah, you have him in second. And then, Patrick, I'll let you talk about the 5, and then we'll move on. Charlie, what did you like about No Name Mets?
Yeah, so I mean, obviously, George Weaver, very respected trainer in his own right. Certainly comes from a decent sire, wasn't a cheap horse. And again, I like the works. With these races, as you kind of touched on, it's so tough because there really isn't much you do know. You just kind of have a little bit of works to look at, seeing the sire and dam that the horses come from, looking at the breeding. I mean, most of these horses, like you mentioned, have either not run or practically haven't really run, so there's not much to work with. But again, I'm kind of just banking on the good workouts and the connections to work out for this horse. Again, there's not really too much to deep dive or overthink or look into. You kind of just have to work with the basic info you got. And so, yeah, again, I do think this is Wesley's horse's race to lose. But if there was a horse that gave me any other excitement, I just thought No Name Mets gave me something that intrigued me.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. This horse is, I mean, out of a Warfront, out of a TWO, I believe is how you say her name. I mean, she was a champion sprinter in Europe. Came over. I just showed the breeding and what she did. So this horse definitely has the breeding. Panici gets the mount. The two works kind of, I mean, not necessarily scared me off this horse, but the fact that this horse only worked twice, and I know George Weaver's not, like I said before, is not necessarily known for having his horses cranked. This horse only puts two works in, and then they throw him into this spot like this. That's my only thing. You might get a little bit more of a price just because of that, but I would not. For me, I'm not able to trust a horse that only has two works, let alone. I mean, it has good breeding, and obviously out of No Name Never, but that's what kind of scared me off this horse a little bit. But let the tote board be. Actually, Matt Miller, I didn't even see your comment until now. He puts up, let the tote board be your guide here. Look at daily double probables to give you a sense of which horses are taking money. That's a far better clue than trying to interpret. Absolutely, because, I mean, I call them knowers, but you could see where all the money's going a race beforehand. So if you look with your ADW, you look at daily double probables, and you'll be able to see who's taking money and where, who's the projected favorite of the next race. It's definitely an indication, but if you're looking time of, definitely look at the board. It will be your guide here. And Patrick, you are going to talk about the 5. I believe it is North Shore Drive, correct?
Yeah, I hit on the horse a little bit, but I just, I like the way the horse rallied late in that race and faced Reaper actually. Didn't was 7th lengths off the lead, but just like the way the horse finished, and I really like the trainer's stats coming back off a second start. And listen, as a 2-year-old, he's hitting at 17% with 2-year-olds. So I'll take a shot with this horse underneath.
Yeah, and I mean, look, I'll never tell you, this horse is definitely going to be a price, most likely in the 10-1 range for Ralph Nix. And anytime you can get Lionel Reyes at Gulfstream during this time of year at a horse like that is definitely worth taking a shot. I completely can see your logic there. I'm going 964. Patrick is going 495, and Charlie's going 974. But like I said, guys, before, and to Matt Miller in the chat, definitely let the tote board be your guide in a race like this. Guys, we're moving on to race 7 here. It is a maiden special weight, 50,000, going 6 furlongs on the dirt. And obviously, we don't have morning lines again, so I will not bring up the Equibase up. But most likely, your morning line favorite will be the number 2, Mr. Peaks, for Safi Joseph and Edgar Perez, which 2 of us are going with. I have the number 2 in first, but soft first. Patrick has number 2. Charlie is going again, odd man out. And I don't know how I definitely had this horse in my pick 5, but I don't know how I overlooked this horse when going through the first time. But Todd Pletcher, Lionel Reyes, Spendthrift Farm, working well. What'd you like about Delta Ta Chi?
Yeah, so it's kind of exactly what you touched on. So I mean, again, certainly wasn't a cheap horse. I like who it's come out of. I mean, Todd Pletcher owns Gulfstream. This is his track. The works have been really consistent and good for me. Kind of what you sort of mentioned on in terms of what maybe concerned you about the 7 that I liked in the race before. You don't really have to worry about with this horse, as it has been working a lot. He really has ramped this one up. So yeah, I really do like the horse in this spot. And again, like I kind of mentioned earlier, when we're in races where there's little to no experience, I tend to like to look towards the first time starters, unless they're on like the rail. I do tend to like to try to give them the benefit of the doubt and the chance, unless the horse that's already run has really proved that it belongs and that it is the winner. I certainly, as you'll touch on the 2 later, I mean, which we'll explain to the viewers later. If you look, obviously this horse, depending on the surface it's on, the distance it's going at is a completely different horse. I think it was just a mistake to run it 1 1/8. It's much better at this distance. And so I'm sure that's why it'll take a lot of money. But yeah, I like the works. I like the connections. I really do think the 3 can be very dangerous in this spot.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I don't know how I missed Pletcher and Spendthrift on a horse when going through. Probably would have had him in third. Working really well. Out of practical joke, $500,000 purchase. I guess the thing is that I mean this horse was bought at the 2-year-old sale for 500K and it hasn't run. Never ran at 3, running at 4 now, first time out. I don't know if there's some issue or something going on that kept the horse from starting, but that's definitely one thing to take into account for me. But the horse, like I said, the horse seems to be working well, so I don't see anything wrong. There's not too much you have to say about Pletcher in a race like this. Definitely needs to be kept in your interest. Patrick, we're both going with the number 2, Mr. Peaks for Safi and Edgar Perez, old Arlington legend Edgar Perez. I mean, racing the Florida Derby last time out, Safi obviously saw something in this horse.
Yeah, he did. And you watch that replay, and horse came out flying out of the gate. Was not a pace, was close, was on the pace, on the lead pretty much. And just got killed by the fractions there. And faced greater competition. I mean,
Yeah.
horse was trained by Ian Wilkes for his first 2 times out, and improved off both those starts and lost to a good horse 2 back. I think this horse is, the speed of the speed and catch me if you can. And I don't know if anybody really can, and anybody has the class. Now, we could talk about Safi and what's going on with him. We could look at that angle, whatever. But his numbers are fantastic at Gulfstream, and they're fantastic, just all around. So I'm not too afraid. I think Mr. Peaks should be a solid bet for this race.
Yeah, and I mean, obviously, people are going to look at those 2 races back at 6 furlongs in his 2 main races, and this horse is obviously still a maiden. But Safi took him in, and you can argue why he was in the Florida Derby. You can argue that he was a rabbit for Safi's other horse, the number 6. I cannot remember these. My ADD is killing me right now. But I believe I'll have to look it up in a little bit. But you can argue that. But I think this horse coming back to his competition is definitely live, working really well. Obviously, we all know how well Safi does at Gulfstream, so I think this horse is definitely a must use and most likely a favorite in this spot. I have the number 7 in second. I'm actually the odd man out here. I don't hold on 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 Maptitude for Terry Pompey. Hey, dude, you can't be
I
doing
do that. I have to do it every time.
Every single time. When I don't have the program numbers, you have to count them out. Literally, when I was
I just memorized one of the horses, which number that horse was, and then count forward or back from there.
There you go.
They're usually in the middle. Yep. This horse was just beat for the pace last time out. Ended up still holding off against another horse in this race. I believe number 4, Omni King. There's not too much to say realistically. I think the extra half furlong might have been a little too long for this horse. But this horse will definitely show pace. I like the outside draw. Hopefully to sit off the 2 and can definitely sit a really nice trip in this race. But there definitely is other speed. So if you're looking for a win bet, this might not be your best bet. But this horse is definitely a must use if it does get that perfect trip, which I could envision. Charlie, you're going with the number 5. I have the number 5 in third. The other Safi in this race for one of my good friends, Jermaine Bridgemahan. So it's really nice to see him back, a good old Arlington guy, working up lights out. What did you like about Macho 45?
Yeah, so I mean, again, obviously, if we put aside, I mean, obviously, people can think what they want, have their own opinions on the Safi Joseph Jr. News. For me, I'm just strictly trying to look at it from what the facts say in terms of his history with success at at Gulfstream, and how his horses have been doing. This horse, as you mentioned, I mean, the workouts are insane. This horse is not only working out a lot, but its workouts are absolutely flying. I also couldn't help but smile, as you mentioned, to see the Arlington legend. I didn't think I was going to see that name ever again. So that certainly had some impact as well. But yeah, no, I mean, again, I like the connections. I love the way this horse has been working. I like to go towards first-time starters. And yeah, it certainly didn't hurt when I saw a good old friend that a jockey I've watched for years, and I didn't think I was going to see anytime soon. So it was easy for me to include the 5. But again, on an unbiased note, truly does look like a horse that could be dangerous in the spot. Certainly the works point towards this horse working forwardly.
Yeah, and how about an Iowa bred coming into Florida to run this race at Gulfstream? I mean, This horse, like I said, is working lights out. If this horse is ready, Safi has good first-time numbers. This horse is definitely live, and in my opinion, another must-use, although this horse is also a first-time starter at 4. So, take what you will with the Pletcher and this horse not racing at 3, but now racing at 4 first time out. Obviously, you can do what you will, but that is definitely an angle that needs to be addressed. Patrick, you're the last man. You have the number 4 Omni King for Kelly Blake and Edwin Gonzalez.
Yeah, the 4 Omni King got off to a rough start in that race, in its first race, and I just think that it improved after the gate problem, and rallied on to finish third. Was a long distance back third, and has been working well. I wish I got Chantel Sutherland on the horse, but no, that's all right. And I just, I just think this horse, if it gets out of, if its gate works are better, it should have a chance.
This man's just throwing shade at some Gulfstream guys on a Saturday. All these guys, all the really good guys are back at Belmont, and now he's throwing shade at Edwin Gonzalez. Hey,
he's just trying to do his job, man.
Crowns Way legend Edwin Gonzalez for my man Richie. Don't you hate? But look, this horse got, like Patrick said, got off to a really slow start first time out. If you can clean up the gate trouble, hopefully sit mid pack, this horse can be dangerous as well. But I mean, this is only a 7-horse race, and I think this is my biggest spread of the entire day is on this race. And it just comes down to, I don't know if the 2 is going to return back to that insane form. I think he will. It's, for me, it's either you single the 2 in a spot like this or you spread. And I went the one option. You could definitely go the other option as well, based on his prior form and getting Safi back up, or Safi back to Gulfstream and back at the 6 furlongs. So we'll see what happens. I'm going 2-7-5. Patrick went 2-4-3. Charlie's going 3-5-2. Guys, I'm switching over the PPs again right now. This is race 8, a classic. We call it the Arlington Classic. $17,000 purse, 62.50 claimers, going 6 furlongs on the dirt. Again, no morning line favorites. No morning lines out right now. Most likely morning line favorite God, how do you? I don't even know.
I thought maybe the 4, but
maybe the 4. Yeah, we'll have to see. But I'm bringing it up right now. I'll bring up the picks. And actually, 2 of us have the same horse. So, Patrick, I feel like we're just on the same wavelength tonight, is the way it goes. Charlie, now.
Hey, we have the same top 3, just different order.
We do, but
which is crazy on these kind of horses.
You're the odd man out, my friend. So, you're going the 4. I have the 4 in third. What did you like most about Ginger Sparkle?
Man, like you mentioned, these are like the Arlington races. It's so hard when you word it as, what do you like about the horse? Because these are like the ones where you're playing like trivia with yourself. Like, is this an actual horse or something else? Or is it a donkey? You're kind of trying to narrow them down that way. So I approach these races like a test. You cross off the answers that that are absolutely wrong, and then you look at the ones and you're like, this might be the closest one that's not wrong. This is the least wrong of them. And that's how I landed on this horse. On the bright side, the jockey is, I don't know who the jockey is, and I know Patrick likes to make fun of these jockeys because they're not the top of the top. But hey, this jockey's been with this horse for a long time. So, maybe they have some vibe together. Maybe it's their lucky day together. On a serious note, though, God, the figures were just abysmal on this horse. And then all of a sudden, pulls a 62 out of nowhere, switching to Gulfstream, which, is more acclaimed than Tampa. So normally for me, I see it the other way around. If a horse is at Tampa, usually comes to Gulfstream and struggles a lot. So that's the angle I'm looking at. I know it dropped down in class, but the angle I'm looking at is the jockey knows the horse. It had a decent effort last time out. It switched to Gulfstream, which again, in theory, usually is not a good thing. Usually means the horse will struggle. And again, you're just picking from a bunch of bad horses. So there's no horse where there's this clear-cut star horse that you're like, oh, we got to single this one. But I landed on the 4.
There's no big drop down. And not only is he throwing shade at these jockeys, he's throwing shade at Patrick. No one is safe today. The one rebuttal that I have that I cannot put this horse on top. The pace structure favors it. This horse is 1 for 16. The trainers won 1 race so far this year. The jockeys won 1 race this year, probably together. I just can't. Like I said, I applaud you for doing it. I just cannot do it. This horse, in my opinion, got a fast pace last time out, even dropping down in class at 23-1, might I add. got the pace scenario he needed in front of, or she needed in front of him. Take a damn drink.
Yeah, 1-3 back though. This one's been pretty
Yeah.
good lately. Got a first and a second after its history before that. I would take any day of the week.
I know. I cannot put this horse is probably going to be mid-level odds. I just cannot put a win bet on a low odds horse at one who's 1 for 16. But again, the pace structure favors this horse, is why I have this horse in third. I just can't do it. This is and Dirty Reg 22. I haven't seen your name before. I appreciate it. I appreciate you joining the show. He says he'd never put that horse on top, no matter the history. I get it. Trust me, I get it. Just connections wise, they've won one race this whole year.
Yeah, they're just vibing together, man. And look at the name of the sire.
This horse is going to be 5-1.
I think the sire is dialed in. I love that name. This horse is going to be dialed in.
Yeah,
locked in.
Dialed in my ass. All right. Patrick, save us here. Tell us why we're right. We have the number 8 Juno C on top together for Amador Sanchez and Lionel Reyes. Why are we right?
Listen, this horse's last race got bumped pretty bad early, and just they never really got back to that. And I just kind of thought, I'll take an angle with this horse on the fact that I think this horse was improving after its second to last start, running in a better field, nothing greater, but I just the trainer's got decent stats coming back, and he's good with the sprinters, and I'll take a shot with a horse that's also been, halfway bet, 9-1, 10-1. And he was even money when he won out. So I think this horse is worth the chance on top.
I do. And this is my most likely winner on this field. I'll tell you why. I like the outside post. The trainer has good numbers, dropping a little bit in class, coming back to the dirt, where this horse is working well in the dirt. This horse has dirt breeding. I love the comeback to the dirt. I think she sits a great trip from the outside, whether it's just off the speed or pressing the pace on the outside. And frankly, at this level, I would much rather have a horse that's going to be on the lead or near the lead than having a horse fly from behind and close, because a lot of these horses at these levels really just don't like to pass. And that's the best way I can describe it. They just frankly don't like to pass. So I love Juno C in this spot. Hopefully this horse can take to the dirt like she has in her works and just absolutely win by 4. And that would be just the best case scenario in a field like this. I have the 9 in second. Charlie has the 9 in second, and Patrick has the 9 in third. So Charlie, I'm going to you. Bella Romance from Monica McGoey, who's usually a Tampa trainer, I believe so, with Edgar Perez, Arlington legend. What did you like most about Bella Romance?
Yeah, so I don't know who the jockeys were in the past, but I'm guessing Edgar's an upgrade. I mean, I like Edgar Perez, so I'm going to give him benefit of the doubt. But yeah, I kind of took the angle that you did with the 8. That's why I have the 8 and 9 under the 4s. My thought process was, since these horses are terrible, either go with the closer that's going to get them all late, and then sort of hedge it by having the speed horses with it. So kind of like with how the race ends, either if the pace is hot enough and the 4 can close into it, great, I have it. If the 8 and 9 kind of get away, and I do think they'll get away together, and one of them goes on to win, great. Now, I mean, the figures are all right. The numbers don't look great, but again, people, you got to remember, this isn't Derby week anymore. We've really come back down for these. But yeah, what I am curious, I want to hear about, because this was a horse I considered but didn't. I'm excited to hear what Patrick has to say about the 2, because it has the same trainer as my 4, but he got kicked off to a different jockey from the jockey
name
that's electric with them. And by the way, the only thing I want to point out that Jim highlighted, now I like the 4 even more. The fact that the trainer's name is Crooks is just elite.
Yeah.
I mean, that is an elite
the
name
best
for a
part
trainer.
about it is Jim says, is the trainer on Jinger Sparkle really named Crooks? Yes, it is, Jim. The last name is Crooks. But the best part is not only is the number 4's trainer named Crooks, the number 3 is called Tested Positive. So that's the other thing for you right now.
The names of the horses and trainers are just as bad.
What about Bumblicious? Patrick,
Bumblicious.
your floor is yours.
Come on, Bumblicious.
16 figure 2 back.
Listen, horse got has a new trainer in Jeffrey Crooks and had a 54 buyer. Showed speed last out. Dueled with this horse, and just never never really had a chance. I just think, you know what, maybe this horse will find something at longer odds. I don't know.
Pat,
This is
like I
just
said, I'll never talk you off a horse that's over 20-1. This horse will definitely be over 20 to
Yeah,
1.
2 and 3 back. I do like.
But
but you look at this horse's buyer. This horse actually
it's
is somewhat
competitive.
formidable. So I was just I'm thinking, you know what, off the new trainer,
Off the layoff, yeah, it was a big figure. I like, in all seriousness, to go off that big of a layoff from a 16 to a 54. Like, this
Newly-
trainer may have found something. Maybe Jeffrey Crooks for the bad horses is just him.
And
it's
this horse raced according to the form on May 7th, which would be what's that? That's last weekend.
Wait,
that's called last weekend.
That's 3 days ago.
So like I said, let me get this straight here. So Patrick is going. Well, Charlie went for a horse that's 1 for 16, and with the trainer and jockey combo that's won once in the past.
Oh my
year.
God, Jim! You get Jim.
I'm not. No. Nope. Then Patrick picks Bumblicious, whose last 2 buyer back was 16. The jockey has not won a race in 2023. Jeffrey Crooks has won once, like I stated before. Look, I'll never talk to you, Patrick. I like your pick because your pick's going to be 30 to 1, and Charlie's is going to be 4 to 1. So that's the difference.
Jim might be onto something though.
I know. I'm not putting that crap up on the screen. Jim knows what I'm talking about, but I'm moving on. There's really nothing else to say in this race.
How can you take this race serious? Like, I'm
well,
sorry.
you have. I mean, you have to. It's in the Pick 5 at this point.
Oh no, of course you have to.
We took these things serious for 5 years, Charlie.
That's true. That is.
These were the classics back then.
Yeah. No, there was nothing like these. A good old day of Arlington. But see, we're laughing though because we get these 2 amazing stakes races at least. At Arlington, you wouldn't get $200,000 races with these.
Well,
you get like 5
true.
of these in a row. It would be rough.
I'll give you that. But anyway, we're moving on, guys. We definitely spent too much time on that race. 8-9-4 for me, 8-2-9 for Patrick, and Charlie's going 4-9-8. Guys, switching to race 9. This is the other featured race on the card. It is basically the exact same race, just the filly version. It is going 5 furlongs on the grass for 2-year-olds, or 2-year-old fillies, excuse me. And Patrick's got a name angle in the last one. I love the name angle in this one, but you can see on the screen right now, the most likely favorite is the number 6 Ocean Mermaid for Ward and Velasquez. As I put the PPs up on the screen, Charlie and I are both going. Patrick's going against the Ward again, and up until 2 minutes before this show, I shit you not, 2 minutes before this show, I had a different horse. I had the 5 on top, but there's too many things that I liked about the 6 and had to throw this horse on top because this horse is my most likely winner for this race. And I'll never just pick a horse over this horse just because I have underlying factors. If I think the horse is going to win, I'm going to put the horse on top. Charlie, floor is yours. Ocean Mermaid.
I'm going to sound like a broken record, and I apologize. But again, I like the breeding. I like the connections. Again, not a cheap horse. Again, John Velasquez is literally just here to try to get what in his eyes is probably 2 easy money wins. And for Wesley, again, as you said, trying to get his horses and races down the line. The works, again, have been good. He's working the horse a lot. Again, this is what Wesley specializes in. It's these turf sprints with new horses. So it was an easy pick for me to go with this 6. And then I know you and I will touch on the 5 in a moment, but again, kind of the same angle I took with the 5 in that race earlier, where I took the 7 in second. Another horse that's worked decently, where again, I just really like the trainer and Mark Cassidy, and I went connections based again. So that's really, again, that's kind of how I look at these races. When you're looking at these higher up races with brand new horses that have no or little experience, my angle that I personally always like to take is to look for the connections. I really do like to just look for those trainers where, again, this is what they're known for. This is their spot. Now, I'm not saying Mark Cassidy is known for these type of races as much as Wesley, but he's a very well-respected trainer who does in his own right have a lot of success. So that's kind of how I ended up with the 6-5. Again, not a cheap horse is like for me, at least, the clear-cut top 2 horses in this race.
I completely agree with you, and I'll talk about the 6 real quick, and then we'll talk about the 9, and we're gonna get moving here. But the number 6 Ocean Mermaid. I mean, what else is there to say about Wesley? There's nothing really more to touch on at all. I mean, this horse has amazing breeding, sparkling sir. If I look up shimmering, no, which one was it that had the? This was Zenda was a miler, but really nice. I mean, got second in the Queen Elizabeth II Cup. I mean, this horse is great breeding. Sprint's a little bit of a question, you could say, but Stone Street, Wesley Ward to get to Ascot, I'm going to trust this horse. I think this horse is a more likely winner than the last horse we talked about in the 6th race. There's really nothing else to say. Great connections, well-meant horse, most likely winner. Number 5 is the horse I want to talk about because, like I said, I really had this horse on top. And Matt Miller, I see your comment in the chat. No, it was not just a Disney pick, although I am sporting my Disney attire for today. It is not a Disney pick, but the myth is the underlying thing here for me. Gary Barber, ownership, Mark Cassidy trainee, Lionel Reyes. This horse is working really well. I really like this turf work at Palm Meadows. And if I click on the dam, Honey Trap out of Medaglia d'Oro. So again, you can argue distance, but look at who is the sibling to this horse. A half sister to Delight. Delight is a very nice horse in her own right. Won the Jessamine at Keeneland, won at 7.5 at Delaware Park, raced 3rd behind Love Reigns at 5.5 at Keeneland. So, I mean, the horse's sibling is very well meant. And I think this horse is dangerous just based on where this horse is coming from. Like I said, you can argue distance based on breeding, but I'm more than willing to take this chance with this horse, at least underneath, and hope. I think this horse is going to be, like you said, Charlie, clear-cut second choice, and definitely the one to upset Ocean Mermaid. But there's too many good things that I kept coming across with Ocean Mermaid. And to your point about Mark Cassidy, Charlie, Mark Cassidy's run more 2-year-olds, first time starter 2-year-olds than Wesley Ward has by a long margin. You can see on the right-hand side of the screen here, but Wesley Ward's actually won more. So I guess you could take that for what it is. But Wesley's 83 for 317. Mark Cassidy's 75 for 524. So Mark Cassidy's no slouch when it comes to 2-year-olds by any means, or, the rest of his training career for that matter. So don't just write off, the 6 because he's Wesley and move on. Although that horse is the most likely winner. Patrick. Crimson Advocate for George Weaver, Edwin Gonzalez, a Nyquist filly, coming off the last race at 4.5 at Keeneland on the dirt.
Listen, the horse has been working well with a trainer that is good, puts blinkers on for the first time, which I think will be beneficial. I think they want this horse to get out of the gate and go to the lead, which I want this horse to do because I think this horse has more speed than it actually does. I have a feeling that this horse is going to run bigger than we expect. For a trainer that is, in George Weaver, who, he's as solid as they come, with 2-year-olds that aren't that great. I just feel like this is a spot where the horse was also on the dirt last time.
Yep.
He should know that this horse wants the turf. And you know better than me, with the sire and the dam, what the horse, prefers from the dirt to the turf. But I think this, I think this is a spot where this horse might have a shot.
Crimson Advocate back in 2011 won a listed stake at 5 furlongs on the turf. Sibling PPs. This horse remarked was a miler, but still a nice allowance horse out in New York. And you can see on the rest of them, but the one Money Moves for Pletcher in 2020 was the highest leading progeny, and it was all on dirt. But this horse definitely has a little bit of turf breeding. So I wouldn't say this horse is completely written off by any means either. But I just think personally, they're the 5 and the 6 are your 2 most likely winners. Charlie, I'm gonna let you talk quick about Turf Rocket, and then Patrick to your 3, and then we'll move on real quick here.
I mean, look, as you kind of mentioned with that 7 horse I liked earlier, only a couple of workouts, but they are 2 bullet workouts. Very solid from what you can see. I mean, again, for me, this race is just between 5 and 6. But if you're looking for a horse where the connections aren't that well known and it hasn't worked much, so you might get a decent price on it, why not? Again, if you already see who the clear-cut top 2 should be, why not take a flyer? Wasn't a cheap horse. Again, brief works, but nonetheless, they were 2 bullets. So thought, why not take a chance on Turf Rocket? And I will say there's another horse. I think it's the 2, or I think it's the 2. Nothing to say about the. No, it's the 4. Nothing to say about the horse, but just an all-time name.
That's what I said. My name angle is Fumble Rooski.
Absolutely. So I will say, if you're looking for a price to put under and you can't pick a horse for any logical reasons, that's just an elite name. And Edgar Perez is on an Arlington Legend.
Arlington Legend, Edgar
Perez.
That's
2 great angles right there.
Absolutely. Patrick, you have the last one. But first, Boss puts it in the chat. You have to bring it up. I know you don't. I know I can see it in your face, but congratulations to Patrick for graduating college tomorrow. An absolutely big accomplishment. I remember I was there a long time ago. I was there a year ago last weekend on Derby Day is when I graduated college. So Patrick, absolutely massive congratulations to you. It's not an easy feat by any means. So and again, good luck for you to whatever you do going forward. But yeah, big congratulations to you, my friend. Take it away, Scootaloo.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Scootaloo, that's who I'm going to graduate with. No, I'm kidding.
Name angle.
I just, this horse, you watch the replay, the horse actually got bumped early and then had to steady. I just, listen, you know what? This horse was, got bet on the board in a maiden special weight $63,000 race. So Sweezy, the trainer, might see something. Has not been done that well with 2-year-olds, but I just think going from the dirt to the turf has an idea of what this horse wants, and maybe it's got a shot to hit the board.
Yeah, I mean, look, the horse ran really well. Bet as you said, Kent Sweezy's no pushover by any means. Stiletto Heels won this race going away by 6.5, so you can argue in with the rest. Coming to the turf, City Zip is it has sired some nice turf horses, so dude, just ripping on the chat, man. This is
People
insane.
are getting crushed.
Hey, hold on. I'll have Howard know that I might have to take some extra classes, even with a minor, because I would graduate early and I didn't want to. So I'm not having that. I'm a graduated poor.
It's classic Ohio State is what that's the classic Ohio State education right there.
Hey, speaking of Ohio State education, Justin Fields also just graduated.
Yep, he did. That's true.
Congratulations. 10 years too late.
Chicago. Hey, 1 year too late, dog. Come on.
Hey,
I know,
come
you're
on
right.
now.
You're right.
I also want to cheer for the number 2, Buchera, just because the horse that we have is sired by Buchero. To have a Buchero win this race would be pretty cool. But sire angle, I guess you can say, Charlie. But I'm going 6'5", 9'6" for Patrick and 6'5".
Jim is just having a field day today.
I know,
oh my
it
God.
really is. All right, guys. Last race here. We're going to race number 10. As I switch over to the picks right now, this is going to have to be a little bit quicker here.
No problem.
But we all have around the same picks. There's a few outliers. Me and Patrick both have the 7 on top. Patrick, we're just there today. Truly, is what we are.
They just sat down and picked together. Let's be honest.
Yeah, right. That's exact. Charlie again. Odd man out, my friend. You are going exclusive Joni, which I have nowhere. Patrick has second. I guess I just missed something. Tell me why I'm wrong.
So, I mean, my angle with exclusive Joni, again, I like George Weaver as a trainer. I like the debut start a lot. That was the main angle for me. The horse kind of just got stuck way too far back, but showed a lot of interest as with its rally late to close that down, obviously, from being in 10th. And it said 6th, but it was only by 2 lengths, so it did actually close back and was at a long price. I think this is a much easier field. I don't think it liked being on the dirt all that much, so I think it will benefit going back to the turf. And obviously, also, if you look, it got bumped and steadied in that race. So just a terrible trip. I think it was on the wrong surface. I mean, the works have been nothing crazy, but again, I like the trainer. I like going back to the turf and turning back to a mile at Gulfstream. I think as long as it can just not fall too far behind. I mean, I also like what the time form pace saying at 77 and 87 for this field. For me, I think is the best averaged out. So yeah, I really do like the source. I'm kind of surprised you didn't have it anywhere. For me, it was one of the few that actually looked like it had a legit shot in this race. But yeah, that's my angle on the 6. And I mean, Patrick, I don't know if you have anything to add or different for me, but that was my angle on the 6.
Yeah, no, and I agree with you. That horse did not like the Tapeta that day at all, like you said. And the horse, got better on the Tapeta actually, which I found interesting off of its first race, which was, not good, but improved from a bad start. So I agree. I do like the the idea that this horse should improve going back to the turf at this distance.
Yeah, for me, I just thought this horse was going to be too far back in a race with not that
That's
much
fair.
speed.
Yeah.
And as I stated before, especially on the way this Gulfstream turf has played in the past, I'd much rather have a horse at this level on this turf course that's going to be near the lead. But again, if the horse can continue to improve off that this horse is working well on the turf at Palm Beach. I mean, this horse is definitely logical. I went Starship Dynasty, so did you, Patrick. Leaving it up to you, my friend. Trained by Stephen Dwoskin for Sean at Bridgemahan. What did you like about Starship Dynasty?
Yeah, Starship Dynasty has a trainer who's actually fantastic. I don't know much about the trainer at all, but I was looking, you look at the stats and second maiden start. I mean, hitting at 24%, which is solid. This horse ran at 7.5 furlongs on the turf. The fractions were not great, 24-1. So this horse, kind of slow pace. The horse really didn't have a chance, but stayed within it and managed to hit the board. And I just think this horse is versatile. This horse can sit off the pace a little bit and then pounce from one of the outside posts.
Yeah, like I said, that's exactly for me. I love the outside post for this horse. Harlan's Legacy came back to win his next race out, or her next. I'm pulling a Paul. I got to drink again. Went up to $35,000 claimer, 7.5 on the turf. Harlan's Legacy came back to win for Victor Barbosa. So that's another angle you can take into this, improving or actually tying by our top. So I love the outside post for this horse. This horse can sit right off the speed, hopefully pounce at the top of the stretch and be able to hold off anyone coming from behind. Patrick, you have the number 1, and then Charlie, I'll let you talk about the 11, then we'll wrap up here. I also have the 1 in second, Neo Gem for Ruben Sierra and Lionel Reyes. What did you like most about Neo Gem?
Yeah, the horse has just improved since it got in the Sierra barn. The figures fit. This horse, Tapeta turf, do they say there's a big difference? I'm not sure, but just, solid figures all around. And I think this horse definitely has a good shot of hitting the board, and the post inside draw should not matter.
Yeah, I agree, because this horse for me is just going to drop back, most likely be back to mid-pack, and hopefully can get the trip under Lionel Reyes, who, like I said, at this time of year at Gulfstream, I would definitely trust. Charlie, close it out with the 11. I believe that's lend her credit, correct?
Yeah, so 2 quick thoughts. So first off, real quick on the 7 you guys touched on, I had the same thoughts. I love a horse second time out. The figures were obviously respectable for that first race. I think the horse could take a step forward and is very dangerous and could get a good spot. My only concern with the 1 was actually kind of what your concern was with the 6. You saw the blue figure, so it had some slow stuff. Obviously, there's some decent late speed, but really no early speed. So I was thinking about the 1, but ultimately left it off because I just think it's going to have too much work to do. I don't think it has enough pace. And so my angle with the 11 was, look, it's an outside post. Again, not crazy horses. You look at the early figure at 94. That's probably the best in the field. Obviously, its last effort was not good at all. But if you look 2 back on the turf, it had a very respectable effort. 66 figure, obviously got second, hung in there, beat the 1. It was able to stay up there. I had a very solid effort when I watched the replay. So, yeah, I mean, do I think this horse will win? Probably not, but I think you could get a decent price on the horse. And again, I do see that. I don't think this field is unbeatable. Also seeing it was previously trained by Todd Pletcher. So, at one point or another, he may have seen. So, I mean, any horse that ever is in his command at one point was supposed to have some promise. Yep. And also, I like Jaramillo on the horse as well. I know they didn't have a great effort together, but he's another one, like you kind of mentioned with Reyes, who's during this time of year pretty good at Gulfstream. So that was my angle. And yeah, why not? If I'm going with horses that are towards the back, why not take a chance on one horse towards the front?
I mean, absolutely. With those connections, you can never go wrong by any means, and especially at maybe a decent price. I don't know if you're going to get that with the Angelo and Jaramillo, but maybe mid for sure, and maybe mid odds is exactly where you want it to be. So
exactly.
I'm going to change over to our pick 5s right now, and then I'll let Charlie go for it all for about 5 minutes, and then we'll wrap up the show. Charlie, your pick 5 ticket, $54, 479 235 489 5667, $54, no single, as Charlie likes to go. What talk about your ticket?
Yeah, there was just no one who convinced me to single. I mean, look, as much as I love Wesley, and I honestly wanted to try to single both his horses, but ultimately, again, it's first-time starters. shit can hit the fan real quick. I didn't want to take that risk. And kind of as we touched on, I really do think that Mark Cassidy horse is dangerous. So that's my reason there. Go with, obviously, as you kind of hinted on, when you go with these races with these horses that aren't as talented, you kind of need to spread a little bit. So that was my angle with going 3 deep. And then with the race with the 2, where you mentioned that you can kind of spread or single it. For me, I just didn't want to risk getting beat by it and lose my pick 5 that early on. But I do think it's very beatable. But again, going with 2 first-time starters is always scary. So I didn't want to take that risk. And I feel like, again, like how I like the 4 a lot, I think I could get a decent price. And I do think there's some other races where I could get good enough prices, maybe even with my 6 later on as well, where I think even if the 2 wins and I have multiple horses, and even if those Wesleys do come in, I think in some of these other races I have other horses in that'll come at decent enough prices that this ticket could still pay out a respectable number. I think you're muted, Kyle.
You would be right. I am muted. Sorry about that, guys. Just production value. But Patrick knows that one. But no, I have very similar opinions to you, as we touched on during the show. So if you don't like the single, find your most promising opinions, hit it hard, and then try and catch a price other places. Obviously, you have to watch your budget in that regard. But Charlie, I like I said, I like the ticket and I like the opinions in there. Patrick also no single, but actually 3 going 2 deep. 4-9 with 2-4 with 2-8-9 with 6-9 with 1-6-7 for only a cheap price of $36, graduating college budget. Patrick, talk about your ticket.
Good point. I just think that, this is a sequence where it's, it's very tough and, it could get bombs away very quick. I really don't see too much chalk, and I do have bombs within it. So, the first time starters, I have the Wesley Wards, but I'm just, I'm kind of tiptoeing around this, not singling anything because I really don't think I don't really have a strong opinion, but I just believe that the horses that I do have, 2 horses in each leg, they got a decent shot at winning. And in the 2 where I have the 3 horses, they have, there's a chance for it to be more wide open, but this is a tougher sequence, and I wanted to lead more on the side of caution than risk.
Yeah, and like I said during Charlie's ticket, you'll go one way or the other, and you'll see in my ticket I decided to go the other way. But obviously you know that I have pretty much the exact same opinions, it seems like, that you do in a lot of these fields. And if you don't like the Wesleys enough to single them, and because if you beat them in this ticket, your price is going to balloon for sure. So I don't disagree with trying to beat them either. Guys, here's my ticket. $67.50. 4-6-9 with 1-2-4-5-7 with 4-8-9 with 6 with 1-7-9. Like I said, $67.50. I singled the number 6 in the Phillies part of the Royal Turf Sprints. I stated it during when I was talking about it. I think the 6 is more likely a winner than the horse before, and then the 9, I believe, in the first leg. So I went my top 3, 4, 6, 9. The second race, like I said, it's either you single the 2 or you spread. If you get the 2 anyway, it would be a real bummer. But I think there's a lot of horses that are extremely interesting in that spot, and that's the race where I really just didn't have an opinion personally. So I threw out a few of them in there, but I believe actually I was supposed to have. My apologies. There's actually supposed to be the 3 because that's the Pletcher, I believe. In that I didn't like the 4. So 1, 2, 3, 5, 7. Excuse me. My apologies. So again, 4, 6, 9, 1, 2, 3, 5, 7, 4, 8, 9 with 6 with 1, 7, 9. The other 2 are my top 3 horses. I think you can get by with those. The third race is that cheap claimer, where it could really blow up. But I think 4, 8, 9 kind of covers all my bases with the front and coming from the back with the 4. I think you can kind of skim by with that, and 1, 7, 9 in the last are my top 3, as I touched on. So that's our pick 5s, guys. Thanks so much again for everyone joining. Greatly appreciate it. It's now Charlie time, as I like to call it. Charlie, Suns down 3 games to 2. Not looking that good. You at least got to watch a win, I guess, is one way to put it. But I don't know. I saw Katie's washed up, everything this, everything that, but I want to talk about that. And then Patrick, I want you to touch on your Knicks, who they were up a lot and then not so much.
They 1 by 9, 1 by 8.
Oh, how about 3-2? coming back.
Bring it to Miami.
Gonna need a Golden State collapse, but that's the way it goes. Charlie, Suns floor, man, it's all you.
Yeah, so I mean, not to toot my own horn, but I will say for the Knicks Heat series, I've correctly picked every single game in order what would happen. And if it stays the course, unfortunately, Patrick, game 6 means it's over. Personally, I'm pulling for the Knicks. I would like to just see, in my eyes, it's still an upset story. I fully expected the Heat to win that series, but we'll see. I don't think it'll really matter. I think whoever wins the Sixers Celtics series is going to the NBA Finals, which I will give all the credit in the world to Philly. I thought going into game 5, they were going to get blown out. I mean, you have Doc Rivers, who's probably the most overrated coach in NBA history. You have James Harden, who's notorious choke artist. You have Joel Embiid, who every single time someone breathes on him, he ends up in the 8th row in the stands from an injury and gets hurt. So I really didn't expect that to go well against Boston, who's the most deep team in the playoffs besides Denver, in my opinion, who has mental toughness. I still think Boston could pull that series because if there's any coach and player like combination that could choke a series lead, especially having the chance to close it out at home, it is Philly. So if you're a Boston bettor, don't give up yet. Don't cash out yet. Give them a chance. From a betting perspective, my value picks, there's going to be some bias, but just let me cook, people. So I like the Lakers at plus 380. I do still like my Suns at plus 1,200. I also still do like my Suns at plus 350 to win the series. I know there's bias, but let me just explain why. For those of you who may or may not have watched the game, so I will say I was on cloud 9. Okay, I went to Phoenix. I saw 2 straight wins. Then I saw Mays win the Kentucky Derby for me. I thought I couldn't be stopped. And then I get to Florida. I lose my voice screaming because I watched my Suns just get destroyed in Denver. But here's where I see the hope. For those of you who may not have watched the game, Devin Booker got injured during that game in the first quarter. He went up for a layup. Jeff Green went to block it. He hurt his ankle, was hobbling on it, but then seemed fine. Then in the third quarter, he because the announcers had said it, he went into the announcer's booth on that ankle again. And then after that was hobbling much worse. And then you could just see on his jump shots, he couldn't get anything off of it on that ankle. And for those of you who I know this is more horse racing based, so if you're not as into basketball, the Suns are notoriously known for shooting mid-range. That's their thing. They take mid-range shots. And so if you have an ankle injury, it's very hard to knock down your mid-range shots because you need to push off of it. He just didn't look the same after that. You're also in Denver. KD was struggling. DeAndre Ayton might be the softest 7-footer I've ever seen. I think I could take him in a street fight. So, I mean, that obviously doesn't help as well. They don't have much depth. Denver does. So, that's obviously what went wrong. But here's what I see. Devin Booker said he's fine now. He had that time to rest up on his ankle. Chris Paul did look good in workout, so I thought he was coming back for game 6. Unfortunately, he was just ruled out right before our show. But look, neither team has proven that they could win on the road yet. There's a saying that goes that it's something along the lines of a playoff series doesn't start until the road team wins. And I think that does hold true. Denver has been the best team in the league at home, but they didn't have a great road record in the regular season. That has carried off in these playoffs. They still haven't beat Phoenix. I trust them to win game 6. And look, as much as this hurts my heart to talk about, the Suns were in this exact position against Dallas last year. If people don't remember, the Suns won both games in Phoenix, lost both in Dallas. Game 5, I think we beat them by 28 or 30 at home. And I remember I was tweeting all night saying that we were going to go into Dallas and blow them out. It was over, Suns in 6. And then not only did they beat us in Dallas, but then they came to Phoenix and embarrassed the Suns in the worst playoff game I've ever watched. I remember I was watching my buddies. Early second quarter, I already turned it off, which I never do. And I just went to go play basketball with my friends, and we left my house because I was I'm not watching another moment of it. So I very well can see that happening. I don't trust Denver to come in. People forget that Jokic had 30, 17, and 17 in game 3, and then had a 53 and 10 game in game 4, and they still lost both those games. Role players play better at home. Landry Shaman, who, if you look at me on Twitter, man, I've ripped in this guy other than Ayton like no other. He knocks down every 3 known to mankind magically. Role players show up at home. Michael Porter Jr. is going to take the worst shots to mankind and miss all of them. Bruce Brown's not going to play well. They like to act tough, as Luka once said. People like to act tough when they're up. They're acting tough because they're up. I truly do believe the Suns are going to come home and get things done. And then a game 7, anything can happen. I think Chris Paul's targeting a return there. In a game 7, you're letting me have the team with KD, Chris Paul, and Devin Booker, or the team with Nikola Jokic, who's some 7-foot guy that's 800 pounds and moves a mile an hour, with Jamal Murray, who's bow and arrow, is not going to work in that game 7. I'm taking the Suns any day of the week. It's also Mother's Day. KD His mom's the real MVP. You know he's not letting her down in that game either. I do think the Suns come back and win that series. So that's my little rant, folks. But yeah, and an unbiased note, though, if you don't want to take the Suns, as much as I like to hate on the failure of the Mickey Mouse Clubhouse and A Disney, I do think there's value at plus 380 for them to win the title.
Hey,
and then again, I like the Suns as well.
Bubble hits, dude. But Lakers win, Heat win. It's the bubble
Nuggets,
plays.
the Nuggets got back. Yeah, the Bubble's all of a sudden are back. The Bubble's no longer popping.
And again,
I'll let Patrick go on his rant now.
Just for the sole fact, it's going to be quick here, guys, because we're going to have to end here quick. But just a few tweets from Charlie's Twitter. Kevin Durant is terrible. His regression has been crazy. Kevin Durant looks washed. Monty Williams is done.
Yeah, Monty Williams is a terrible coach.
Are you kidding? That's an absurd take.
I just wanted. Well, that's what he's known for.
You know, I'm just happy he didn't go to the Scott Foster tweets, and that will never be mentioned.
Well, you're not getting that out of me on this show. But Patrick, you got 2 minutes.
I don't know. I don't even need 2 minutes. All I gotta say is the Knicks. What a gutsy win by the Knicks tonight. Jalen Brunson, the boss's guy. I know Howard loves him. Awesome performance tonight. 38 points. Knicks had to win that game. They're not going to win this series. They're going to go down to Miami and probably get killed. Just they're not all there in this series, and Miami does everything better than what the Knicks do. They're the same team. They just do it better. But yeah, listen, the Knicks are giving us fans an actual fun time, and tonight the Garden was absurd. I mean, it's just great to see. So it's good to see. Hey, listen, if they can somehow win Game 6 and bring a Game 7 to the Garden, that'll be insane.
Yeah,
I mean, they win that Game 7. I will say if they somehow do that, I do think they win that.
If they get back to the Garden, dude, I mean, it's
going to be the loudest. It'll probably be the loudest game of the entire NBA playoffs if they're able to bring that back to the Garden.
Yeah, I agree with you, but guys,
they have to get there. Yeah,
I got no input. My team went out to a damn 8 seed, so I don't have anything.
Yeah, but remember what Giannis said: failure doesn't exist in sports. It's okay.
Well, that's a Michael Scott thing. I mean, failure doesn't exist.
That's what I do want your opinion on
Kobe Bryant.
But I want to know what you think about them firing Coach Bud. That's the only thing I want to know. Then you can help.
I'll talk about it next week, but I don't like it. I don't think he needed to be fired.
I don't think he was the problem.
No, I mean, I think losing really key guys and players like Malcolm Brogdon and stuff like that. I mean, you lose those.
Celtics win it all. Okay, that's a bold take.
I love it. Thanks, Jeffrey.
Appreciate it. Now while you got those odds.
Now, yeah. Hey, they got to be good odds. They're down 3-2. But like I said, thanks so much, guys. Greatly appreciate everyone coming out for this show. If you haven't looked at the PPs yet, but you do end up looking at them, come out and comment below the video player who your picks. We all see them. We read everyone and we respond to all of them. So, guys, thanks so much for joining the show again. For my co-host Patrick Kuenzel and Charlie Freeman, this has been Kyle Roscoe in episode number 21 of Bettin N Boozin on the HHH Racing Podcast. Thanks so much, everybody. Have a good night.